Hello, folks. I'm Tarah Wheeler Van Vlack. I'm in a slightly new location today. If any of you have ever been to a co-working space before, this is what it looks like. I'm the CEO of Fizzmint, which is a startup here in Seattle. And today I am talking about sober networking. I, like many other people in technology, am an introvert, and sometimes it's hard to get conversations started. I've used and seen people use a little too much alcohol sometimes to get conversations going at major networking events. And it's not necessarily just that you're drinking at a party, it's often that you're doing it in order to overcome your natural inhibitions to meeting people, to networking, to doing what you know you probably need to do if you're going to get jobs, get funding for your company, that kind of good stuff. So here are 7 of my absolute all-time greatest tricks for networking while totally sober at a networking event. I'm mostly thinking of big meetups, places like Seattle Tech Meetup, New Jersey Tech Meetup, the really big ones, New York Tech Meetup even, where it feels horrifyingly intimidating sometimes to walk into those rooms and know that you're the only person there who is at all shy, at all an introvert. Believe me, it's not true. There's lots of other people there like you, and I'm actually going to show you how to leverage that. So if you'd like to ask any questions, go right on ahead. You can do it through the QA application here in the Hangout, and let's get started. Okay. When you show up at a networking event, the first thing that you do is you go and get a drink. I don't care what it is. Get water, club soda, get tea, doesn't matter what. First, make sure that you always have something to do with one of your hands. If you're nervous, it means that you're not sitting there twisting your hands back and forth. It'll help a lot. Remember that a lot of this also is not necessarily about being shy, but more just that a giant meetup like this will drain you. So you need to be strategic in how you make your hands available to people. Carry a drink around. All right. So what do you do when you've got your club soda in hand and you're at the giant tech meetup and your job is to find a job perhaps? First thing you do is you compliment someone. That's how you get the conversation started. The words, "Oh my God, I love your bag," and "Say, is that the new iPhone?" have come out of my mouth hundreds of times each. It's the easiest way to get a conversation started with someone. So compliment them and have a strategy for exiting the conversation as well. If you see someone there that you think you might want to talk to, just find something about them that you think is cool and compliment it. Or ask them about one of their gadgets. I promise you they'll be happy to answer because most of the people there are there for the exact same reason that you are. They're there to meet new people. And if you're making it easy on them, they're going to be grateful. I promise. Today is Earl Grey. It's only Bigelow, but at least it's Earl Grey. Okay. Number 2. Wingman or wingwoman. This is a tip and a trick that I have personally used again and again and again. I bring someone with me to meetups that has a different focus than I do. As the CEO of a tech startup, my job is almost immediately to hone in on people that look like they are Python developers, UX UI specialists, someone who's good at technical marketing. So I'm seeking those people out, and yet I have to sift through a lot of people often to find the ones that I'm interested in. So that means that having someone along whose job it is to help me for whatever reason or another, possibly, and in many cases I've promised big steak dinners afterwards, having somebody along who can cheerfully enter big group conversations and sort through them and figure out who you need to be introduced to is invaluable. It's totally priceless. Someone needs to offer this as a paid service. I will tell you that right now. The thing that I personally hate doing is trying to walk up to those like junior high circles of conversation where there's like 10 people all standing around and each person's kind of awkwardly waiting to speak, whether or not it's their turn, which is a really awful feeling. I don't like that feeling. So I'd rather sit over in a corner and just sort of parse through people one by one and say hi and get to know them, really get to know them, and it helps a lot to do that. Find yourself a wingman or wingwoman who is a big old extrovert, loves joining parties, always has a joke on the tip of their tongue. That's the kind of person that you want to take with you. So you can bring one with you. You can also adopt one. There's 2 different ways you can adopt a wingman when you are at a meetup. First of all, look around for somebody who is huddled next to a wall and on a cell phone, just like this. This is how I find people at tech meetups because often the introverts are the programmers. It's a very good heuristic to use. Find somebody who looks like they're like huddled by the wall like this and then they're on their phone. That, my friends, is an introvert. Find one of those, walk up to them and say, what are you doing here? If they say, I'm here to meet people, you go, well, I am too, and neither one of us is actually meeting new people. First, hi, I'm Tara. Cool. Do you want to be my buddy while we try to collect business cards? Maybe get a business card contest going. See if that sparks their interest. Sometimes that will turn them into your wingman for the night. And just having someone you can pair up and say, have you met Ed? Often works really, really well just as a conversation starter. Yep, that's how you adopt one. You can also adopt one of the, look around at a 500-person meetup. There will be 10 or so people there who are brightly dressed, who appear to be always at the beginning or in the middle of big conversations. People are roaring at what they say. And this hopefully is all you'll need to do one time. Walk up to that person and say, hi, I'm Tara. I'm totally new here, and honestly, I need to find some folks, and I just like to meet people. And I'm a little bit shy. Is there any way that you can kind of adopt me like your little lost puppy for the evening? And 9 out of 10 of those people will be like, hell yeah, absolutely. Have you met Ed? That's what happens. And then they'll keep an eye on you. And then they'll ask you, say, have you met Julie? That's what happens and how you adopt someone at the meetup. That's next list. All right. Well, I have here as number 3, always have a drink in your hand regardless. And I sort of told you to do that when you first show up at the meetup. Have something in your hand because it always gives you an excuse to leave a conversation if you have to. I will actually be doing an entire talk on how to get out of conversations at meetups in networking events in a couple of weeks. And I'll give you all my best tips there. One of them, and here's a quick preview, have a drink in your hand. Because the only thing you have to do if someone is being uncomfortable or you want to get out of a conversation, look down and say, I really got it, I'm going to go refresh my drink. I need more ice. Kyle, the bartender didn't do a very good job on this gin and tonic. Would you hang on for a second and just never come back? Cool? And plus, they're also sometimes true. You always want to make sure that it's true while you're leaving the conversation. Okay, number 4. Oh, yes, meetup stalking. This is not nearly as creepy as it sounds. Meetup stalking is when you go and you look at the list of people who are going to be attending whatever networking event you're going to be at. There is almost no way, if you have met anyone in your town, that one of those 500 people doesn't know someone you know. A very good way to do this is if you use Meetup often, or even if you've never done it before, eyeball through the list of all of the people that are in that meetup. In 200 odd people that will have RSVP'd, there will be at least 10 people there who are like, I'm new in town and I'm here to meet new people. Or I'm a junior programmer just looking to get started. Do yourself a favor and tweet or email or Facebook, whatever, contact that person on social media. Their face wouldn't be in a meetup if they weren't okay with someone contacting them. And email or tweet or Facebook them and say, hey, I'm going to be at this meetup too and I don't know anybody. What if we sort of virtually shake hands first and then we'll know each other. Then we can team up and knock them all down like dominoes when it comes to the business card contest. That is a very good way to very carefully and selectively pick someone in advance to be your partner, your wingman at the event, and you can find them in advance. You will at least know someone. You'll have a purpose for being there, and sometimes that's all people really need. When you walk in the door, rather than looking around going, oh my God, this is huge and uncomfortable, you're looking around going, gee, I wonder where Ed went. All right, that's cool. I know what he looks like from Facebook. And you have a reason to stand up and walk through the crowd and go, hi, Ed, it's nice to meet you. I'm Tara. That often helps a great deal. All right. Number 5, you are on to hit and run. This is often what less socially graceful people do, but it's often a really good way to get in and out of an encounter really rapidly. So hit and run situation. And what that means is, and you can only really do this towards the end of the meetup, okay? Or during a networking portion at the beginning of the meetup that is going to clearly come to an end. What you do is you walk up to someone and say, I'm sorry, I can't really talk right this moment because I'm supposed to go meet this other person, but I would love to reach out to you and have a conversation with you because I know who you are and I think you're really interesting. Can I get a business card? And then they go, absolutely, sounds like a great idea. And then they hand you a business card and you walk off. Now what that does is it gives you several different opportunities. Now you have a business card. If you remember anything key about their personality, write it on the back of the business card and you'll know who they are later. Then that means that you can go and you can LinkedIn stalk them a little bit and figure out who they are and see if you want to contact them. You should have a sheaf of business cards like yay, at least by the time you walk out of a big networking event. Probably only 5 or 10 of those people who you want to contact. If you really do want to talk to people, or you just want to collect business cards and start your LinkedIn collection, then that's the way to do it. And it's the way to do it that requires no input, no interaction from them whatsoever. So it won't drain your energy, especially if you rehearse it in advance. Okay, number 6. This is the volunteer clause. You can, number 1, you can invite, or you can ask one of the organizers of the meetup if you can arrive early to volunteer. If you are the person who's handing out name badges at the door, you're going to find out really quickly who the people are that other people want to talk to, who the big people are in the group. You'll see wedges of people walking into a meetup with one person who's leading the crowd. That's the human you want to get to know. If you do something like that, that often means that you're going to get put on later on as one of the organizers. In a big group, just offering to help is really valuable. You can also just arrive early and offer to help if you hadn't thought about that in advance. So that often works really well. And number 7, the biggest thing that most people are frightened of when it comes to doing a lot of networking, doing a lot of conversing with other people is, what if I get stuck? What if I don't have anything to say? What if I can't get away from the person? Well, first of all, I'm going to teach you a lot more about how to end conversations, specifically at tech meetups, in a couple of weeks. The thing to remember when you have absolutely nothing else to say is just these simple words. So tell me more about yourself. You can tune out or pay attention as necessary. That's really the major secret. Tune out or pay attention, and you'll find out really quickly if you do or don't need to talk to somebody anymore. All right, still on the more program. There's a couple of social issues around drinking at meetup and networking events. I specifically targeted meetup because that's mostly the way that you're going to end up at new people groups of any kind. But there are some social issues around drinking that it does pay attention. It does behoove you to pay attention to. The first thing to remember is there are groups of people who will not find you particularly welcoming or want you as part of their group if you, at least initially, don't drink. That's just the way that it goes. There's not much you can do about it. There are some groups that are likely to be more welcoming to you, and I mean kind of social cliques that may or may not be happening in your area. There are some groups that may be more welcome and that may be more about the connection with people and less about whether or not you have a specific kind of drink preference. The key for something like this and to find people like that is look for the groups that are organized around activities. When you find a meetup or any kind of networking event that has kind of a traditional, what I would think of as a networking event schedule. You'll start with a period of drinks and hors d'oeuvres, then you'll all sit down and you'll listen to a couple of people talk, and then you'll all stand up and then you'll start networking again, at least a little bit. The key moment in a group or in a network like that is after the end of the speakers, when people start to break up and head off in a different direction, is you'll hear some people say something like, well, let's go out and go midnight bowling. Let's go to karaoke. Karaoke is a big one here in Seattle. Let's go to karaoke. Let's head down to the bar. Let's do whatever you end up hearing people say. See if you can get adopted by one of those groups and pick the one that has activities. Don't do the bar one if you are someone who is dealing with an alcohol problem for obvious reasons, although I probably don't need to tell you that. If you're just somebody who just prefers not to drink, you're on a low-carb diet, what the hell, then still it tells you something when there's an activity that might make people really uncomfortable and it's kind of seen as a bonding experience. Karaoke is a big example of that. Going out and shooting pool is an example of that. Anything that lets you have something to do with your hands and your time while you're meeting people is going to be a lot more helpful for you than just showing up at one of the kind of awkward penguin shuffle sort of networking events. It'll help a lot. All right, so those were the 7 major ways that I use to handle a lot of the energy drain that comes when I deal with giant crowds of people. Oddly enough, speaking in front of people doesn't bother me at all. This right here doesn't drain my energy, but going through a cocktail party, that can really sap me over a period of time. So if you're like me, I get it. You can always ask me questions too. It's t@thetarah.com, and I will help any way I can. Hell, I'll make an introduction for you in any city that I know of. All right, so now I have got 4 questions that popped up via email and a couple of tweets that came at me. I will start with those. And again, you can always ask questions over here on the side. Okay, where are my questions for the day? There they are. Question number 1. What do I do if every single other person there is drinking and I am not? It may seem that everybody else there is drinking and you are not. That's not actually the case, and I'm going to tell you a little trick. If you look around, you're going to see a lot of people there who are holding rocks glasses. Those are the highball glasses with a lime in them that's clear and sparkly and has a straw stuck in it. I promise you right this second that 3/4 of those people are pretending to hold a vodka tonic. I simply like drinking club soda most of the time, so sometimes I just drink club soda regardless. And that is sometimes in a bigger container, sometimes it's in a smaller container. But a lot of the time, the people that you think are drinking aren't actually drinking. I would say that there's a fair number of people out there who sort of mimic the action, and they do it because they're trying to make other people feel comfortable. Learn something from them and do the same. And not everybody is, really. Even if you look around just to see the people that are not holding drinks in their hands, you're probably fine. Okay, question number 2. I was in, this one happens to me an awful lot too. I was invited to a Scotch party, and what do? This, I think, is coming from somebody who specifically does not drink alcohol because they're concerned about its effects on them. So for whatever reason that might be. So one of the issues we have in technology, and this is actually coming from someone I believe is female, one of the issues we often have is that a lot of events in tech are really centered around drinking. And if you end up being a female in a lot of these events, you're often uncomfortable doing a lot of drinking. So this is someone who was invited to a party that is specifically around alcohol, Scotch party. There's often other kinds of parties there too. And this person doesn't want to drink in any way, shape, or form. The facile answer is don't go, but that's not really the answer. The real answer is there are probably people at this party that you need to know. There are probably investors there. There are probably friends and colleagues there, and you probably do need to actually attend this. Here's the secret for drinking parties that you don't intend to drink at. You bring gourmet food. That is the answer to this question. So I have been invited to parties before where there was a kind of alcohol that I didn't want to consume. I have nothing particularly against drinking whatsoever. Most of these events, I just don't really want to suck down the calories in liquid form. But I've been invited before to tequila parties, and I don't like tequila, and yet I needed to go to them. So what I did was I went and searched out a couple of different kinds of food that worked really well with tequila. I forgot what it was. There were some cookies that people said were really, really good to go with tequila, and I think I brought some salsa, something like a mango salsa. Anything that people really like to eat with some kind of beverage like that, you'll be the hit of the party, and no one will even care. That is the secret to this right here. It doesn't matter if you even eat it, but if you bring like a fresh, like jalapeno mango salsa from home to a tequila party, you'll be extremely popular. If you bring, say, homemade Scottish shortbread, homemade, Trader Joe's is for people, you'll be very, very popular. Another good one that goes with Scotch are certain kinds of fruits. Go take a look. I won't list them off for you. But there's, toffees with Scotch parties. If you bring like really great English toffee to those, no one cares if you're not drinking the Scotch. You'll be the hit of the party, and that's the secret. There you go. And we got question number 3. This is a little bit more complex one, and it does relate to how sometimes there's a real expectation that you will socially perform at events like this. And this is a woman. She says, I want to find a way to decrease the amount of drinking in a group that I'm already part of because it makes me, I've quit drinking and I am uncomfortable with the fact that I'm out with people who are having like 10 shots in a night. This is an endemic part of technology, and it's kind of rough, I get it. Hopefully you're part of a group that really only does that at places like the major convention of the year, DEF CON, PyCon. If you're at DEF CON, you're going to be seeing people slinging bottles of Jack everywhere, I promise you. There's not a great way to do what you're asking to do. What you're asking to do is to change the behavior of other people. And the secret here is you can't ever change other people's behavior. The only person's behavior that you can change is yourself. And as a result, I'm going to have to advise that you not spend as much time around them. If you are around people that are making you uncomfortable with their actions, especially if after they get a couple of shots and then they start getting kind of gropey and it gets a little gross, that situation is never going to get better. It's never going to improve. You should probably find a different way to make something happen. If you want to find a way to get these people away from that bar scene, you still can't change their behavior, but you can change the venue. You can do something like have there's actually not that many places that you can legitimately bar alcohol. Movie theaters, maybe, but then there's still going to be pre-movie theater drinks. If you think of some good ideas, let me know. Hell, tweet them to me. I just mostly chose not to try to change other people's behavior, honestly. All right, and I'm going to skip that question right there because I think I basically already answered it. That is going to do it for us today. I hope that this helps. I understand that alcohol is often a really great way to get you over that nervousness or that draining feeling kind of hump that happens when you're at big meetings and networking events. These are some great strategies, but the final thing that I will leave you with is this. If you are exhausted and you're an introvert and you spend all day long in meetings and you have to go to a networking event, don't go. You're going to be miserable, and the expression on your face is going to communicate to every person there in micro expressions that you don't want to be there, you don't want to meet them, and no one's going to come and meet you, which means that half of the easy part of being at an event like that is just gone without you even realizing it. Get the rest, plan to go to those events. Don't accidentally end up at one. Make sure that you've got the energy. Hit the caffeine if you have to in advance. Avoid the sugar because that'll crash you. Try a little caffeine, try to bounce a little bit, and you'll be okay. Have a great week. We'll talk more again next week. I've got, I think, some more advice going on next time. And I look forward also in a couple of weeks to teaching you folks how to get out of conversations that will not end. Talk to you soon.